It's tea time, positive tea time, and we are spilling all of it right here in this space created by two crazy, fun-loving besties. It's a no-judgment zone for sharing stories of hope, faith, love, growth, and most of all, grace and gratitude. So join us as we get ready to share some positivity and get a fresh perspective on life.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Spilling the Positivity, and this episode is uniquely special. Extra because we have in front of the camera
super duper
premiering for the very first time on Spilling Positivity in front of the camera.
Yes.
Matthew Fewwture Ashby.
Woo.
Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
He's actually a part of the SBT team.
Yes, he's a fam. He's my child and her brother, so
Yes.
it's just like yes.
Okay, I don't remember it now, but yeah, what she said.
Yes. So Natasha, tell us about our sponsor before we get into the conversation.
Matthew, we need to tell you all about Lloyd's, our super duper sponsor. They have this citrus fruit and ginger tea, and it tastes really nice. It's refreshing. It's great, and packaging for eco-friendly, but it tastes really good.
Yes,
so,
and it has ginger.
But those of you who like ginger and citrus, perfect.
So Matthew, thanks for joining us to talk about a very passionate project of yours, which is mental health in men.
Yes. I see it as something needed because it was something that, for me, I struggle with mental health, or I used to, but I learned to manage it now. And one of the things that I realize is that for women, they'll have structure and communities, and they actually kind of envy how we all navigate and do things and have each other there, and they realize that men don't have that.
Right.
And so I then said, well, you know what, we need to put something in place so that men can have the information available and the platform to realize and to tell them that it's okay to feel emotions and figure it out and just, dive deep into it. And nothing is wrong with
dealing with your mental health. And
yeah.
Before we even go further, let's talk a little bit about you and a little background about you.
Right.
Because you're in an industry where you're an agent, you are
a manager.
Manager.
Creative director. I'll help you out.
Yes, many hats.
You have so many hats that,
Yes.
a brand,
Brand manager, yes.
Brand
all of those
strategist,
things.
yes.
So you deal with a lot of different people.
Yes.
And you're in an
constantly.
industry as well in terms of entertainment where you see a lot of different things. So for your own mental health, and then a lot of the people that you have to deal with, obviously you would have seen a lot. Tell us a bit about your journey.
All right, so it all started with me. I got diagnosed with a chemical imbalance when I was 13. Well, at that stage, I didn't know what that meant. And I don't think my family understood what that meant because back then no one was talking about mental health or anything like that, So I was just put on medication and that was it. But then the medication worked, but however, it used to had me a little bit like kind of zombie-ish through school and stuff like that.
What was it, Ritalin or one of those things?
I delete the name out my head. I don't remember.
Right. Push that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I push it back. And so I got through that. And then when I was in my late teens, going into my 20s, I got into work. I got into my passion, which was music and production and that kind of thing. And I used to spend many days and many nights in the studio in a dark room. I love that setting, but however, it wasn't healthy for me to be in that space all the time. Yeah. And then no one was giving you information that, Matthew, you need to come out in the sun a little bit.
See the light.
Get the sunlight in the eyes, get into the nature and all that, So then it started to come back. The chemical imbalance started to happen again. I had a lack of serotonin. And they started to crash, and I didn't understand what was happening, and no one did.
Yeah.
And but it was dark. It was a dark time, but however, I got through it. And one of the things that we do as men is that we use a lot of buffers. And what a buffer would be is alcohol or a substance, or whatever the case would be, or just going out and using distraction. And girls, and I did that. I keep giving myself distractions, and that was my coping mechanism for that period. I got to a point where you know, after a while, it only works for so long.
Yeah.
You got to keep putting more and more and more,
Yeah.
and it gets to a point where you got to say, you hit hard and say, all right, look, this is where I need to get help.
So what was your turning point? What was the
That
point
aha
that
moment.
you knew that you had to do something different?
When I had my son.
Ah.
When my son came, and I said, listen, I need to be the best human being for him.
I love that.
I love
And
that.
I was
yeah.
like, I need to get better, and the only way that I can serve others is if I get better. So I
Serve
then,
yourself first.
yeah, for
Yes.
sure. So
Yeah.
then I did a lot of research. I went to therapy, and it was like a project, like on me. It was
Yes.
project me.
You were your own project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I put so much energy into other people and serving them in ways and whatever, but I was ignoring my own self, right?
Yeah.
So then I just went into research, and I was learning about diet and exercise and just like taking time outs and sleep. Like for instance, right? In this world of work that I'm in, people don't really promote sleep.
Yeah.
It's this constant hustle culture that we have that you got
Yeah.
grind.
You only need
grind.
4 hours. You only need 3
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, you know, that was glorified. So I realized that sleep is so important.
Oh my goodness, it is.
So important.
Rest,
And when I
generally.
started to make these little subtle changes is when I started to feel the improvement. And when I started to feel the improvement, it was like this light, and I need to follow that light, so I
Right.
need more of it, you know? And I mean, like, there's certain little habits I created. Like, people put alarms to wake them up in the morning. Anytime you have to put an alarm in the morning, it means that you didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
The only alarm you should have is bedtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The alarms is, all right, time for bed.
Or time to turn off social media.
Yeah,
Or
but
time
no
to,
one promotes this
Yeah.
because you know why? No one really makes money when people sleep. You
Yeah,
understand?
That's very true.
That's very true,
That
Matthew.
is
So
very
no
true.
one is going to promote and say, well, sleep is important. They
Yeah.
always want you up to consume,
Yeah,
right?
What are some of the things that you noticed you were doing? Like, so now in hindsight, you can look back and say, okay, so I was spending too much time indoors, or my mood was flat, or what are some of those signs that that other people maybe observed that you know said, okay, something's going on with my mental health that isn't right? What were you doing that is different to what you're doing now?
Well, mood regulation was a big thing. My mood was not the best, you know, and it was creating a lot of toxic relationships, right? And and that was obviously affecting a lot of things around me and a lot of people around me, right? So when I realized it's not just me now, this is something that is spreading on to other people, it was like, okay, so I need to fix this mood
Right.
thing, right? And then I started to lose passion for certain things that
yeah.
I used to love. I was like, I didn't really enjoy the whole music thing anymore, and I was always into film, and then that was kind of gone.
Right.
And it's so many things, and like when you go out and you see people literally having a blast and having fun, but this depression thing attacks you at any place, anytime,
Anytime.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then like it's hard to participate when everyone is, you know, mood is energy's
Yeah.
up,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you realize, well, where's my energy?
You're flat.
Yeah.
And it's flat, you know. And then you realize you start to lose opportunities, relationships suffer, and there's so many different things. So now I kind of have an idea, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how much rest I need because I have this thing coming up, and I take care of my brain. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people don't really, you know, pay attention to the
that.
brain
Yeah,
part.
exactly. What about exercise? Is that part of your regimen?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I try to exercise every day, 4 days a week. I started that journey in this year, actually, February. And I had a goal in mind. I actually document everything. And it was like,
That's what you
That's
do.
what you do.
yeah, you know, because I wanted to share the story with other
Yeah.
people. You know, and it wasn't really for aesthetics or anything. It was really for just feeling better
Mental
and just
health.
mental health, and
Well,
just being in a better mood.
This year we found so many young men
Yeah.
have committed suicide, and I know it's a conversation we would have had among ourselves. And what do you think are some of the things that our young men maybe? You talked about men not having community. what do you think that young men need to help guide them through mental health issues?
Well, we need the education, and not just only the men, but women also need to be educated from the perspective of a man, because you know, you may have a brother, you have a son, you have a husband, or you have an uncle or whatever. So you need to be able to pick up these things. So it's good to educate yourself on that, and men need to talk. And I think that's something that we don't, because it's like how do we articulate this feeling?
Yes,
you know,
and not come over as soft
not come over soft and whatever. But however, what I've learned is that it's the other way around. It's like when you could talk about your feelings, that's when that's strength.
That's real
vulnerability is strength.
Vulnerability is strength. Oh my God, it's a powerful thing.
And I realized all of these things that women go through, and I see this is the mass difference between men and women. So let me talk about like a breakup, for instance. Who really suffers the most in a breakup? I mean, that could be debatable.
That could be debatable,
right?
Definitely.
But the majority, you would see when a couple first break, the man would carry him out. He would go partying, drinks, more girls, rebounds, that kind of thing. And then you would see a woman with her friends crying it all, or watching sad movies, and
eating ice cream,
dealing with
it. But they're actually like going through the emotion and feeling it out. But men don't give themselves that time to do that. They keep masking it, and then it compounds and compounds. So I think that's one of the things that men need to do, is just sit with the emotion and find methods and ways and strategies to get it out. Whether you write it out in a journal or whether you talk with a friend, because sometimes you need to talk, because your brain organizes thoughts when you talk.
Right.
Yes,
you
very much
need to have that soundboard, or you can just be cluttered, and that's what really break you down.
So how do you change that? Because men have been so conditioned, especially in most men everywhere, to men not supposed to cry. You're not talk it out, keep it in, hold it in.
Yeah.
Is there a way to change that? How do you think that can change? And I know you started an organization.
The healing era.
The healing era. How do you change that mindset of I just gotta keep it together? And
my doll doesn't carry me out, and we can drinks and how do you change that?
Well, I mean, listen, how do we change it? I think that there are many truths to this, so there's not one method. But I don't know. I think that is just a way of just having a community, and that's why I wanted to start, right? Whereas you don't have to actually put it out and say who you are, but have a group of people that you can talk to, and then you start to realize that other people are actually struggling as well. And then when you realize that other people are struggling, you realize that your problems are not unique. So, and it's not strange. So then you're able to open it a little bit more. So I think that it's just a matter of saying, look, educate yourself, and there's just simple little techniques to learn. And everything is hard. Dealing with the emotion is hard. Not dealing with it is hard.
Yes.
Pick your heart.
Pick your struggle, as I say.
Pick your heart, but you have to also think, all right, what is the long term? So I apply that to my gym exercise, for instance, right? Like a workout, this might be extremely hard, but me sitting and being unhealthy is also hard. But it's what is going to serve me in the long run?
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Tell us about healing era.
Yes.
Well, I mean, everything I just said is that. I started it on Instagram first, and we are going to be getting into more things. We want to do events and, just bring more awareness, and we want to put a cool factor to it, because we want men to know, well, look, it's not feminine to do this, you know? And we want other public figures, people of influence to come in and out, so because everybody struggle with this at some point. And the healing era is supposed to actually educate you that it's not about like you gotta be crazy or mad or whatever
Which
to
is what
check
the myth
your
is
mental.
when it comes to mental health.
Mental health is just like, it's just that you go to your doctor and you get a checkup. You just get a checkup with your mind,
where your mind is
and your
at.
brain.
And tell us about therapy, and for as a man, did you have any apprehensions at all when you went to therapy, or did you think this is a necessary thing I need to do for my mental health? Because a lot of men think therapy is not for them.
Yeah, I think that men may struggle sitting down and talking to, because more therapists are females, I think. And I think that they might see, okay, how can this woman help me? I think they struggle with that part. But they have to understand that anyone that's on the outside as well, and you know, can see them and give them the advice. And sometimes they just ask you the right questions because you're the person that are doing the work, not the therapist.
It's very true.
But they just know the right questions to ask you and help you to and guide you, and then you start to have your own revelations and that kind of thing. So for therapy, for me, I got to the point and said, look, we know Barbados is small, so the first thing we would think, well, I don't want to know my business.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So then, all right, you just research someone that may not be connected to a circle that you're in, you know, and just try it that way. Or we live in a world of the internet. Just find somebody online that lives somewhere in, I don't know.
In Ghana
or something.
Exactly.
So you don't have to be worried about those issues.
The only thing that I would say with therapy outside is that it becomes a cultural barrier, really. So some therapists need to understand
the culture.
What men here go through on this nation. You know?
No, I agree, and I think that overall, Caribbean-wise, I mean, if you have a therapist from the Caribbean, it may who can understand how we operate. You know, it is different. Those cultural nuances definitely make a difference.
How has it changed you as a father? Know that you've gone through that journey of finding and dealing with some of the issues that you've dealt with.
How did it change me as a father? How did it change me? I mean, I feel brand new.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Fantastic.
I feel reborn and
ready.
Yes,
you know?
that's great.
And I think that I am happy that I went through, I mean, this might sound weird, but I'm happy for the struggle. I'm happy for the struggle because I know that I can help others. And even like my son, for instance, if he struggled with something, I was like, you know, I've been there. I'm experienced. I know this thing. So I know exactly where to come from and how to speak. And I know the language.
And you know, the journey of life is such that when you're in the valley, you don't see that the struggle is necessary. You get out the valley, you look back and you say, that is where it came from. Look at you.
Yes, doing it, man.
You're so proud of you.
So
proud of you, Matthew.
So proud of you.
Thanks.
So
thank you for joining us.
Fantastic, enriching. Okay, some of the things that we talked about, starting from the top.
The importance of recognizing that you need help.
Absolutely. Doing the work, doing the work, and
not being afraid to be vulnerable as a man.
Exactly.
And that there's a Healing Era is a safe place for men to go. Look for them on Instagram. So you can create a space where you can talk to other men who may be going through it or who have gone through it and have come on the other side, like our Matthew.
And pick your heart.
Pick your heart. I love that. Pick your heart. Hashtag that. Pick your heart.
Because if you don't decide, you may say, okay, you may take the easy way out now, but what may look easy then ends up being really hard.
Really hard. Absolutely.
There's one last thing I want to say. I want to dedicate this episode, if I can,
of course,
to Karlos Yearwood. He was a great friend of mine, and no one would have never thought he was struggling, you know, because he was always he was the life of the party.
And a talent too, such a
and talent.
Talented, very talented.
Those are sometimes could be the head people that may be struggling inside. I tell you what I realized. I realized that the way how people love is how they want to receive love.
Yes.
And Karlos was one of these people who he always giving. And before we heard the news about his suicide, he had sent me a message and telling me about how much of a great help it have been to his life, and he wished me the best and this and that. But I didn't think about it in that moment. Like it was. But I realized that he was just pouring out, but he wanted to get that back. And I think that a lot of people go through that. So you also have to be mindful, like even though you see someone being the life of the party, smiling and just moving along, like they're just really masking it, and they're strong.
Right?
But they need the support.
And I think there was something that you said, Matthew, when you said women like we create connections and we support each other through our journeys of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said about Karlos is that we gotta kind of like galvanize friends that pour out.
Yeah.
Because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Cup.
No.
Yes.
You know,
and
so-
so be careful of people just taking and not pouring in. You know,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
can't be a one-way
One
street.
street,
Yeah. And we have to give them a chance to blossom and to really grow, because depression kicks in when you have this seed and you put it in a container and it can't grow.
Yeah.
You know, you pretty much depress the situation.
Right.
But when you give them free rein and you give them the opportunities and the platform and stuff like that, that's what they need.
Yeah. What a great note to end on.
What a great note. Thank you,
An
Matthew.
excellent
Thank
episode.
you so much.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Yes.
It's good to be on the other side.
Yes, it's good. As you all know, Matthew started season 1. He was on the other side of the camera and was a real invaluable support to us and continues
And
to
part
be.
of the creation of the
this
whole,
Spilling Positivity.
Yeah.
So Healing Era on
Yes, the
Instagram.
Healing Era.
The Healing Era. Look out for it. If you have a man in your life, brother, cousin, nephew, just send them the resources. Send them there to get some resources, and look out for more things from Healing Era as well.
And tap in. Pay attention.
Pay attention, absolutely.
So thank you so much again.
you.
Thanks for joining us. That's it for Spilling Positivity. And we'll see you next time.
Stay positive, guys.
That's right.
Bye.
Bye.